Y254. Imagine.
We appreciate your company this far, and just a reminder, tonight we are talking about mental conditions, and specifically we talk about the use of heroin as a drug, and most of the youths, we have seen them taking it to solve their problems, which end up not being solved but rather increasing it. And now Stella, we have seen youths take drugs, and tonight you're talking about heroin, and I want to believe it is everywhere. So how do I tell this person is using these kinds of drugs?
Thank you very much. And one of the things that we say is that, and for example, your TV show, I'm glad that you thinking of discussing this, which is a very good initiative. Okay. Number one is that our youth, my heart goes out to the youth. And for the parents, I think this is a message I'll take to the parents. You have to be very close, because when a youth we say is from 15 or 25, between, that's when they start using drugs, because studies have shown, or even when at work you look drug history, what you call a drug history, most of them you'd find that they have taken drugs for more than 15 years. So when you do retrospectively, you find that someone has used drug when they were 15, as young as 12 years. So for the parents, be very close to your children. So number one is that there's definitely change of behavior, where you find that a child who was very social, or an adolescent who was very social, they become withdrawn. Number two, you find that there's change of company. They used to have a certain group, now they have changed, and definitely you find that the company, like in the estate, there's that group that is known. He's associating more with them. Number three, you find that there's a change of clothes. And for example, drug, there's a bang. For example, when you talk about bang or cannabis, there's association with the Rastafarian kind of a lifestyle. True. So you'd find that in the shirts, even in high school, I always tell teachers, they will always draw the weed, which signifies bang, on their shirts, in their books. Then the kind of music they listen to, they will find that they more associate with the reggae kind of music. Then the posters, you go into their rooms, you go into the teachers, go into their locker, they'll post the pictures and the weed. So you find that, and then again, when it comes to the behavior, someone who was polite, all of a sudden they are rude.
Right.
You find in school, the performance definitely goes down. Yeah. Then you find a child who used to come home like 6, all of a sudden, they're coming home late. And when the parent asks, where were you? They don't want to be asked questions. Or they just walk away. So first thing is change of behavior. And when we talk about mental illness or the psychology, is the biggest component of behavior. And that is one of the indications that someone is using drug. When you go to the people who are employed, they're coming to work late, they're not doing their assignments, and they're always sneaking out of work. Yeah. So for a short break, maybe they go do their path, they go do their... And then their confrontation, they're not responsible, and something very small becomes a fight. Yeah. So behavior is very key in someone who is abusing drugs, either drugs or alcohol.
Before we get to what makes people start using drugs or the causes, you just mentioned about performance in school. I remember there's a time I was doing a research back in school, and I was trying to find whether there's a relative between poor performance and the use of drugs. As in, does it apply really?
It is a contributing factor, or it's a predisposing factor. Yes. But you see, something to do with IQ, we don't say anyone who has a low IQ, they're using, that would be very wrong. But you'd find when you're talking about performance and drug use, someone who used to perform well. Right. So there's already a marker on good performance. True. Then all of a sudden, someone used to get an A student or a B student, all of a sudden the performance has come down. And at this era of when you're looking holistically at the performance, let's not just look at academic, let's also look at other roles. Maybe used to be good in games, used to be responsible. So academic performance and even in life skills, you find that everything comes down.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the causes? Because I'm sure there are so many that leads to young people or generally the society to go to drugs, maybe try to solve their problems. What are these problems, or what are the reasons, the causes that make them use drugs?
I would say that we always talk from a point of studies. And from the studies, we're able to see that the biggest percentage of people who are using drugs or people who are abusing drugs, it starts from peer pressure. Even alcohol. How you ask people, how did it start? We went out with my friends, or telling it's tasting nice. That's the thing. Yeah. Then you find that then you're told your friends are smoking, and initially you're not. Then they tell you, take a puff, it feels nice. Utaskia airi. That's what they'll always tell you. Then another thing with people who are using drug, initially when they want to be inducted into the company, because they're always in group, is that the other side of people who are using drug, they seem to have a different lifestyle. And especially, I said, most of the people are induced into drugs when they're adolescent, where there's aspect of influence, peer influence. So you find there's that to belong. So when you're not taking drugs, they put you away, then you feel you don't belong. So for you to belong, you have to use the drug. And they tell you it will not affect you. So you start by puffing. Then you're like, it feels nice. Then you take, and then initially they'll supply it for free, even heroin.
Right.
They'll do the first supplies
Injection.
for free.
Yeah.
Then when you're hooked, you have to pay. And let me talk about heroin specifically in this aspect, in that studies have shown that it has a 90% chances of getting addicted. So they know they'll only supply a few rolls.
Right.
Then after that, you're addicted. And with the addiction, you cannot do away with it. So that is one of it, the peer pressure. The other thing is that the society we are living in. So you find that we are living in a very stressful conditions. So you find that as a way of passing time, or what people to a stress, they want to go to the bars and drink. Then the other thing is a genetic component. You want to ask, why is that their bars are full and not everyone is an addict? There's a genetic component. You find that there's that family that they're more predisposed to either addiction. So because it's all wired to the genetic. So genetic component has a very key role to play. So that is why we say profiling is very important. So if you look at your family, you have history of addiction, either to alcohol or drugs. So you need to caution the others that you go that line, you do a puff, it will not be the same as your colleague who is doing puffs and they're still functioning.
Yeah. Now, before we move to health complications to someone who is abusing this kind of a drug, now, as a parent, you have noticed the behavior of your child. You've seen how things have changed of him or her, and then here you are as a psychologist. What should this parent do?
Number one is that one thing to note is that people who are using drugs, they're very intelligent. I don't know why, but they're always, ask someone, are you using drug? They'll definitely deny.
They'll deny.
And they'll always work so hard to hide their behavior. So the most is you have to really get to know they're using it. So what do I tell to the parents? Number one, I say, be close to your children from a very young age. Number two, you have to do your homework. I always advise them, when you kid, because at the teenage, they want that independence. What do they write in the door? Knock before you enter. Privacy. It's that stage. So what I advise is, when you invade their privacy, they feel offended. When they are away from home, go to the bedroom and ransack that bedroom in a very intelligent way. Don't put everything down and you're like, this is my house. No, you also have to really respect the boundaries.
And don't you think they'll be infringing their rights?
I say as a parent, we are not yet where America is. I always say, as an African parent, we also have to take control because they're living under your roof. So that's why I'm saying, when they're not away, because you don't know, you're trying to find out, you're doing a reke kind of a thing, you're trying to find out. So you have to, what are you looking for? Number one, when people, like for example in Heroine, they always have, or bang, they'll always have half-cut biros, because our old school mothers used to smell the fingers. They have developed ways. So they'll either cut a bamboo tree, it has a hole, then they use that to puff so that they don't stain the fingers. They'll use biros, so you'll find biros without the inner thing. Number two, you'll find blades. And I don't know why. I always say, I don't know why. They'll never use a full blade, but it will always be a half blade. Number two, of a razor blade. Number four, you may find rolls of tissue or foil paper. These days, cigarette smoking is at a low. So you'll find, initially they used to use those fillers. But now you'll find either foil. Foil is expensive. And for them, they want to save every coin to increase their supply of the drug. So they'll either use tissues. I'll explain later what they use with the tissues. A spoon that is half cut. Their clothes always have bands. Their holes. Band holes
for when they
on
hide
the clothes.
These things there.
So when you check their clothes, check for the bands. You know, when they're smoking, the bud will fall and they have band holes. Then if they are on the stage of injecting, for example, for heroin, they have what we call injection marks. So number one, they'll want to wear long sleeves up to here. Number three, they may want to use eye goggles because their eyes are always red. So as a parent, be on the lookout. This person is always with a long sleeve. They are trying to hide the injection marks because that is where they inject, and sometimes they want to cover When it's even very cold, they want to wear shades because their eyes are red.
Right.
So what do? You need to seek help. Because for heroin, as I've said, 90% chances of being addicted.
Right.
You even if you stay with them and talk to them, take them to church and pray until they need to seek help. And for that, that is why we have methadone for the people who are abusing heroin. Yes.
Yeah, and I want to believe these are the steps, like maybe say I'm staying with my brother or my sister and our parents are away from us, so I notice this kind of things. I should also do the same, because I know every time I go to ask, this kind of a person will be so defensive and I may have no better way to do. Suppose I am not able to deal with that person, should I seek help from somewhere, and how else do I deal with my sibling or a friend, because now there will be kind of enmity because I have spilled the beans.
One thing about drugs, especially when someone is in addiction,
Right.
it's always two-way. Maybe several ways, but I would say you find that there's this way of that person who really want to quit, but they're on it. They cannot do it on their own. So they're only looking for that chance. That is why I say don't tire trying to help. Whether talking to them, there's that person who is very addicted and they're only looking for that one person who is going to come and say, what, do you have a problem? Until you do that, they're not going to get out of it.
True.
Then there's that person who, until they hit what we call rock bottom, been there, done that, done this, and until they see they have lost everything, now they say, I need help. So, as for example, if it's a sibling, you definitely get someone who is older, an uncle, someone they respect, someone they can listen to. But it's not a guarantee that even if it's an uncle, they are going to hear. So I say it is a mental illness, and that is why it's coming in as a mental illness. This person is not okay. So several tries. As we were talking outside there, I told you, someone with a mental illness, when they leave hospital, they are not told they have been discharged.
Right.
We say they're on parole, meaning they may come knocking after a few weeks.
Yeah.
When we're doing rehabilitation for drug and substance abuse, there's something called relapse. And it's part and parcel of management. So that is why we say the society needs to be involved. The society needs to know that an addiction is a mental illness. So it doesn't mean because you have spent 400 or 300,000 in a rehab, they're not going to come back. So it's a continuous process, and that is why people feel like they get tired. So seek help and don't tire. Because someone who is mentally sick will make the family sick, will make the community sick, will make the country sick. So we need all to put our efforts together towards helping this single soul.
Yeah, just to clarify one thing, or maybe put it clear here, that every person abusing drug, that's a mental problem, right?
When there's a problem between using drug and now getting into an addiction. When you talk about addiction, is that this person cannot function without this drug. So that's already a mental illness. So they're sick mentally. And if you look back when we had issues of alcohol, and when the president gave the directive of dealing with alcohol abuse, what happened? Most of the people you find, I don't know how to call it for the people, they have to do the lock. Lazima watoe lock. That's a mental illness. They cannot function. And you find with heroin, I'm very passionate about heroin because that's one of the drugs that people first, there's that perception it belongs to the coast. No. Heroin is here. And we even have a heroin, what we call a methadone clinic, to deal with heroin in Nairobi. And there's another one coming up in Bagathi. So it's already a problem. So what happens in heroin is you find that when you take heroin, it only lasts for about 3 to 4 hours. You feel higher, ile wanaita iron. So whether they are smoking or injecting, 3 to 4 hours. By 4 hours, it starts going into withdrawals. So this is a cycle. You've taken heroin, you're feeling high, you're happy, nothing matters. And you feel like you own the world. You're in euphoria. About 4 hours, it starts coming down. Then you start going into withdrawals. It's another hell. You're heaven, now you're going to hell. They start yawning, continuous yawning. They start tearing, they start shivering. What they call turkey is like goose flesh. Like a chicken, you pluck the chicken, it has those goose flesh. That is what the skin turns into. Then the stomach pain. Not the normal stomach, cramps. Then, actually, the patient tell me, Doctor, I cannot dare go to the toilet because once I start going to that toilet, I will not leave the toilet. They have continuous diarrhea. And then they start joint pains.
Now, these are the health problems now.
That is the withdrawal of heroin. I'll come to the health which is one of the health problem anyway. Because we have to divide the immediate, the short term, and the long term.
True.
So you find that this person, what do? Because they know they don't want to get into withdrawal. Actually, you ask someone who uses heroin, what they fear most is the withdrawal, because it's nasty. They tell you it's nasty. When you have your phone, even if it's an iPhone of 70,000, they will grab it from you and sell it at 1,000 to get their next jab.
Yeah.
After that, they are sober for about 3 hours.
Yes.
Then, now what I wanted to demonstrate is a cycle. So is this person functioning? No. Because it's either they're high in another world, or withdraw, looking, just hours before withdrawal, they are busy looking for the next fix. And this next fix can come from anywhere. For women, we have a lot of prostitution and a lot of, lobbery and all that, and they don't care. So they will use any means to get that 500. So when you're complaining about issues of drug are self-inflicting, this person just care about their next fix. And that is what I was saying, drug addiction is a societal problem. So this person, even if it's not your friend, your colleague, they will affect you in one way or the other. So when you look at the long term, for example, again, heroin, one of the main problem is that they use injection. And this person, the only thing they care is about getting that jab. So if they don't get the needle, clay needle, they will share. You use it and they use it. The next thing they do, if, for example, they don't have enough supply, and they're always in groups. If they have a small supply, they will inject one person. Once this person breaks out, wanaita kukamua. They milk, they withdraw the blood, and then they share the blood among themselves.
Then that would lead to transmission of
HIV, hepatitis, and that is why methadone program is coming in. Because let me just mention that the HIV prevalence is about 8%, but among the people who inject drugs is 18.9%. So we're talking about almost three times. So it's an intervention we need to do. So that's the sum of them, the health problem. Hepatitis B is very expensive to treat. So at the end of the day, it comes down to a society, a government, and everyone's problem.
Now, as we finish up, because we don't have time here, the treatment very fast before we answer our question of the day tonight. How do you treat now this person apart from rehab? Is there a chance that this person will be clean at some point?
Let me first tackle with heroin is that what is now working here world over is use of methadone, what we call medically assisted program or treatment, what we call, in short, we call it MAT, where you give methadone is a synthetic opioid. So with methadone, you find that I want to put it in a very simple, when you take heroin, it gives you a high. It occupies your brain because it works on the brain. So what methadone does, it goes and blocks those receptors for heroin. So you don't feel the high. Then after 3 hours, you're not feeling the withdrawal. So what it does, it blocks all those receptors for heroin, so there's no euphoria. Number two, you're able to function because methadone will last about 24 to 36 hours. So it's a dosage you're able to take once per day. Number three, once you're able, because most of them will tell you they're not able to function because I've said they're either high or looking for the next fix. So these people, they're able, actually, the beauty of methadone is you're able to see someone transform. Someone who was in the street, someone who was not able to function, come back and tell you, now I have a family. Now I'm able to do my border. Now I'm able to do my business. So there's that transformation. So for heroin, the main treatment is methadone. For now, I would not, there is issue of, going back to normal, irrespective of you being with methadone, because which is a lesser evil? I know there's that debate. You're using a drug to treat a drug, but which is a lesser evil? Because we have seen people transform. So it's better you're on that one dosage because it's taken every day. You have to come to the facility every day and it's liquid form every day, but you come, take it every day and you go to your work. Unaenda kibarua yako, you go and hustle, so you earn for the family. So for the others, I would say you asked about if there are chances. Yes, there's chances of going clean. And we have a lot of testimonies of people who have turned out clean. And they will always say, my name is Stella, I'm clean for 5 years. My name is this, I'm clean for 10 years. I'm clean for 3 years. So there's always a positive story in this.
All right. Now, within very few seconds, how can we take care of friends and families back home in our institutions or our workplace? How can we deal with this kind of people with mental problems as we finish up?
Thank you very much. And I would say that one thing is for the institution, and even for all institutions, there's the mental health act that was is it 2017? And we need, we have HIV work policy, alcohol and drug work policy. It's time that all institutions start streamlining this mental health policy, because when you look at it, it is a very good guideline. How do you deal with it? Our insurance policies, I'm glad that NHIF has come in and it's paying for even rehabilitation, which is a very positive.
True.
So we need to be the people to advocate from top down.
Yes.
If it's employment, someone comes drunk,
Right.
it's you don't need to fire them. That's someone who is sick. The same when someone calls with a malaria, you don't fire them. They
Yeah.
need to seek help.
True.
They need to go for rehabilitation.
Yes.
At the family thing, we need to accept them. I know they steal from us and sell to do
True.
their fix, but first they need acceptance, because the more you push them, the more they'll steal more, the more they go away and become a problem. So acceptance, then seeking help. I think the next question should be, where can they seek help? We have rehabilitation.
True.
We have rehabilitation services. So I think acceptance, seeking help.
Seeking
That
help.
is one of the way we can deal with it.
Oh, very well. I want to believe you have had it all. She has been my guest tonight, and you have had it from her. You seek help, and the help is in the rehabs, right?
Yes.
Of course. Thank you so much for keeping it Y254 News Highlight. She has been my guest, Stella Waroinge, a psychologist. My name is Dereva Hillary. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a good night.